Welcome to this deep dive into the world of Charles T. Munger, Warren Buffett's brilliant partner and the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. You've given us a ton of material here, articles, excerpts from poor Charlie's Almanack, even some personal stories. Today, we're going to try to uncover the most fascinating insights from all of it, especially how this multidisciplinary thinker's wisdom can apply to your life.
It's not every day you see someone weave together psychology, history, and physics to make investment decisions,
Yeah.
and highly successful ones at that.
Right. And it all started during the Depression. Munger's family faced hardship, but relied on each other to pull through. It seems like those early experiences really instilled in him the value of resilience and human connection. Then there's that interesting tidbit about him almost becoming a meteorologist.
Oh, yeah.
He studied it at Caltech.
It's a clue to his lifelong love of learning across disciplines. Munger believes you can apply fundamental principles from one field to another, which is incredibly valuable in investing. He even said studying physics can make you a better investor because it teaches you about the power of a solid theory.
That's fascinating. Okay, so from meteorology, he transitioned to law. But even then, it seems like he was always pushing boundaries.
He wasn't content with the limitations of a traditional law firm. Munger was driven to succeed financially, inspired by his ambitious capitalist clients. That ambition led him to the world of investing, where his unique way of thinking could really flourish.
So let's talk about his investment philosophy. We know it's rooted in value investing, but how does Munger's approach differ from the traditional methods?
He goes beyond simply trying to buy a dollar for 50 cents. Munger emphasizes truly understanding the intrinsic value of a business, especially its moat. Think of it like this. A company like Coca-Cola has a deep, wide moat because of its brand recognition, global distribution, and secret formula. That's incredibly hard for competitors to overcome. Munger seeks out companies like that, the ones with strong, durable advantages. That will keep them profitable for the long haul.
Makes sense. He's not looking for a quick flip. He wants companies that can stand the test of time. His own investment partnership before Berkshire had impressive returns, consistently beating the Dow Jones.
Exactly. His track record speaks for itself.
And then, of course, there's the legendary partnership with Warren Buffett. I mean, talk about a power duo.
They were introduced by mutual friends in 1959 and instantly hit it off, both intellectually curious and passionate about investing.
What I find really intriguing is that Munger helped shape Buffett's thinking, moving him away from just buying cheap stocks to focusing on these high-quality companies with strong moats.
Their shared philosophy is focus investing, concentrating on a few outstanding companies rather than spreading themselves thin. It's like a poker player going all in on the best hands instead of playing every hand that comes their way.
So patience and discipline are key. It's about waiting for the right opportunity and then making a bold move.
Exactly. And that's reflected in Berkshire Hathaway's unique structure, which allows them to make long-term decisions without the pressure of short-term results. They can hold investments for decades, letting the power of compounding really work its magic.
And we can't talk about Munger without diving into his mental models. This is where his multidisciplinary approach shines. Can you break this concept down for us? It seems a little abstract.
Think of mental models as frameworks for understanding the world, drawn from different disciplines. One of the most powerful models Munger uses is understanding incentives. He often talks about how FedEx incentivizes its pilots to work efficiently by paying them per shift instead of by the hour. Pilots are motivated to maintain the integrity of the overnight delivery system. It's a win-win for the company and the customer.
So understanding how incentives drive behavior is crucial, not just in business, but in life too. Are there any other mental models Munger uses that we can apply to our own decision-making?
Absolutely. He's also a big proponent of understanding psychological biases that can cloud our judgment. One example is the liking-loving tendency. This explains how our affection for someone can blind us to their flaws, leading us to make poor judgments about their ideas or actions. Think about how this plays out when evaluating a business partner or even making personal investment decisions.
That's so relatable. I've definitely experienced that before. So how do we counter this tendency?
Munger suggests cultivating the ability to see it like it is and love anyway. Recognize that even people we admire have shortcomings. It's about being objective and not letting our emotions completely sway our judgment.
That's a great takeaway, seeing things clearly, even when it's tough.
And Munger doesn't stop there. He's got a whole arsenal of mental models that he uses to dissect problems and make smarter decisions.
Okay, so we've got to talk about his famous list of psychological tendencies that can lead to misjudgment. We've already touched on liking loving, but what are some others that stand out?
One that can really trip people up, especially in investing, is the deprival superreaction tendency.
Deprival superreaction, that sounds intense.
It essentially means that we overreact to the possibility of loss. We feel the pain of losing something more strongly than the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. Imagine you found a stock you believe is undervalued, but the price dips after you buy it. Deprival superreaction can make you hold on to that stock, even when it's rational to sell, simply because you don't want to lock in a loss.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about avoiding losses, but managing our emotional reactions to them.
Exactly. And Munger has a knack for simplifying these complex psychological concepts into actionable insights.
It's like he's giving us a cheat sheet for understanding human behavior and making better decisions. What I find fascinating is his tendency to invert problems, asking, how can I be wrong instead of how can I be right?
That's brilliant. By focusing on how we could be wrong, we're more likely to uncover hidden risks and avoid blind spots. It's a great way to challenge our assumptions and make sure we're not being overconfident.
Speaking of avoiding errors, he has a great anecdote about Westinghouse and the reward and punishment super response tendency. It highlights how poorly designed incentive systems can backfire spectacularly.
Right. Westinghouse had an incentive program that inadvertently encouraged employees to make risky loans, ultimately leading to massive losses for the company. Munger uses this example to show how powerful incentives are, for better or worse. It underscores the need to carefully consider the unintended consequences when designing systems of reward and punishment.
Okay, so understanding these psychological tendencies is clearly crucial for making sound decisions, but how does Munger apply them specifically to his investment strategy?
One way is by recognizing how these tendencies can distort market prices. For example, the social proof tendency describes how we tend to follow the crowd, even when it's irrational. This can lead to bubbles in the stock market, where prices become inflated, based on hype rather than underlying value. Munger actively looks for situations where these tendencies are creating opportunities to buy undervalued assets or to sell overvalued ones.
So it's about understanding how these psychological forces are playing out in the market and using that knowledge to your advantage. That's really insightful. It's amazing how he weaves together psychology, business, and investing.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technical aspects. Munger also emphasizes the importance of character and ethical conduct. He believes that integrity and sound principles are essential for long-term success.
I love that he walks the talk. His philanthropic efforts, especially his focus on education, are a testament to that.
He's a big believer in giving back to society and supporting institutions that foster multidisciplinary learning. He's made significant contributions to universities and libraries and is a major supporter of the Munger Research Center at the Huntington Library, which promotes cross-disciplinary research.
It's clear he wants to help others develop the same intellectual curiosity and breadth of knowledge that has served him so well. And this all ties back to his core belief in continuous learning. I mean, the guy is constantly reading and seeking out new information.
Right. He's famously said, if the world didn't change, I'd still have a 12 handicap, referring to his golf game. It highlights his commitment to adapting to new information and evolving his thinking, even in areas outside of investing.
It's inspiring, really. He's not resting on his laurels. He's always striving to be better, to learn more.
Exactly. It's a mindset we can all learn from, no matter what field we're in.
This has been a fantastic exploration of Munger's early life and the foundations of his unique approach. I'm excited to delve further into his wisdom and see what other gems we can uncover.
And speaking of Munger's commitment to continuous learning, his views on education are pretty interesting. He's critical of what he sees as shortcomings in traditional education systems.
You mean like how universities tend to silo knowledge into separate departments?
Exactly. Munger argues that this approach fails to integrate knowledge across disciplines, producing graduates who may struggle to think critically and solve complex real-world problems.
I remember reading somewhere that he compared Harvard to a pilot training program. That's a bold statement. What was he getting at with that comparison?
He believes education should be more than just accumulating facts. He thinks it should equip individuals with the practical skills needed to navigate a complex and ever-changing world, much like pilot training programs do.
He's a big advocate for worldly wisdom, right? That goes beyond textbook learning.
Yes, worldly wisdom. For Munger encompasses a deep understanding of human nature, history, and how systems work. He believes this type of wisdom is crucial for making sound judgments and avoiding the pitfalls that often trap those, with a more narrow or specialized focus.
So it's about seeing the big picture, recognizing patterns, and understanding how different factors interact.
Precisely. And Munger himself is a voracious reader, constantly seeking out new information and insights from a wide range of sources. He embodies the idea that education should be a lifelong pursuit.
It's almost like he's building a mental map of how the world works, using insights from all these different areas.
That's a great way to put it. He's constantly refining and updating that map.
Okay, so we've talked about Munger's brilliance, but I'm also curious about his personality. He's known for his sharp wit and blunt assessments. Did you come across any quotes or stories that highlight this side of him?
Oh, absolutely. There are tons. One that comes to mind is his comment about investment bankers. When they're talking, they're lying. And when they're quiet, they're stealing.
Wow, that's pretty harsh, but I guess it reflects his skepticism of those who prioritize personal gain over ethical conduct.
He's not afraid to call it like he sees it. He's also quite critical of what he calls twaddle, meaningless or misleading talk, which he sees as a problem in academia and finance.
So he values straightforward communication, cutting through the noise to get to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. And he does it with a dry sense of humor. That can be both disarming and insightful.
I'm thinking of his response when someone asked if he was bothered by penis envy. He said, "Absolutely not. I have more trouble than I can handle with what I've got."
That's classic Munger. He's self-aware, doesn't take himself too seriously, and isn't afraid to challenge conventional wisdom.
And that willingness to challenge the status quo extends to his views on things like accounting practices and corporate governance. He's not shy about pointing out flaws in the system.
He's been particularly vocal about excessive executive compensation, arguing that it can create perverse incentives and reward mediocrity.
He believes in tying compensation to genuine value creation and having executives have skin in the game, aligning their interests with shareholders.
Right. He's also criticized accounting rules that allow for manipulation and obscure the true financial picture of a company. He often points to the Enron scandal as an example of how accounting gimmicks can disguise failure as progress, ultimately leading to disastrous consequences.
So for Munger, it's not just about making money. It's about doing it the right way, with integrity and transparency.
Absolutely. And that principle extends to his views on gambling and risk. He famously said, the surest way to get rich is to not gamble.
But he's not risk-averse, right? He and Buffett have made some pretty big bets.
It's about calculated risks. He avoids activities with a negative expected value, like casino gambling or lottery tickets.
So they're not just throwing darts at a board. They're carefully assessing the odds and making decisions based on a deep understanding of the underlying probabilities.
Exactly. And he even applies this thinking to Berkshire's insurance operations, viewing them as a form of sophisticated gambling, where the odds are tilted in their favor.
That's fascinating. It reframes how you think about insurance.
He's brilliant at distilling complex ideas into simple, memorable principles.
Like how he compared building wealth to rolling a snowball down a hill. It perfectly illustrates the power of compounding over time.
Or when he likened successful investing to finding a mispriced bet and loading up. It highlights the importance of patience, discipline, and being willing to bet big when you have a high conviction opportunity.
He has a way of cutting through the noise and getting to the essence of an idea, making it easy to understand and remember.
And a lot of that comes from his ability to connect seemingly unrelated concepts. He's always drawing analogies and using metaphors to illuminate his points.
Okay, I have to ask, what does Munger have to say about happiness? He seems like a pretty content guy, despite all the ups and downs of the market.
He has this great quote, "Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Discharge your duties faithfully and well. Step by step you get ahead, but not necessarily in fast spurts. But you build discipline by preparing for fast spurts. Slug it out 1 inch at a time, day by day. At the end of the day, if you live long enough, most people get what they deserve."
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. It sounds like he believes happiness is a journey, not a destination.
It's about striving for continuous improvement, focusing on what you can control, and finding satisfaction in the process of growth, not just the outcome.
He also seems to emphasize the importance of living in accordance with your values and doing your best every day.
And not being overly concerned with external validation or material possessions. He finds joy in the pursuit of knowledge, the cultivation of virtue, and those simple pleasures in life.
So it's a pretty stoic approach to happiness, self-reliance, inner peace, and acceptance of what is.
It's a really refreshing perspective, especially in a world that often emphasizes chasing fleeting pleasures and external achievements.
It's a reminder that true fulfillment comes from within.
And speaking of Munger's inner world, one of the things that makes him so admirable is his intellectual humility. He's achieved so much, but he's always eager to learn from others and acknowledge what he doesn't know.
Right. It's not about ego for him. He said, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent."
That quote perfectly captures his approach. He's more focused on avoiding errors than trying to be a genius.
And he's very open about his own mistakes, viewing them as learning opportunities.
That willingness to admit fallibility is incredibly rare, especially among successful people.
It's a key part of what allows him to keep growing and evolving. So intellectual humility is not just a personal trait for Munger, it's a strategy for success.
Absolutely. It keeps you open to new ideas, helps you adapt to changing circumstances, and ultimately leads to better decisions.
And his approach to philanthropy is also unconventional. He doesn't just write checks. He makes strategic investments in institutions that align with his values.
He's not just trying to address symptoms. He wants to tackle root causes and create lasting impact.
Like his support for the Munger Research Center at the Huntington Library, which promotes multidisciplinary research and learning.
His philanthropic efforts are an extension of his intellectual curiosity and his desire to make a positive contribution to the world.
Okay, so I'm curious. What does Munger have to say about living a long and fulfilling life?
He has a really thought-provoking quote. "I'm not entitled to have an opinion unless I can state the arguments against my position better than the people who are in favor of it."
So it's about intellectual rigor, critical thinking, and challenging your own assumptions.
He's also a big believer in surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, people who will challenge your thinking and push you to grow.
That's a great point. It's easy to get stuck in an echo chamber, especially when you've achieved a certain level of success.
Munger actively seeks out diverse perspectives. He's said that he's learned more from the people he's disagreed with than from those who've always agreed with him.
That's a powerful reminder to stay open-minded and to see disagreement as an opportunity for learning.
His insights on longevity aren't just about physical health, but about maintaining intellectual vitality and pursuing lifelong learning.
He seems to believe that staying curious, engaged, and open to new ideas is key to a long and fulfilling life.
It's about cultivating a growth mindset, never stopping learning, and embracing new challenges.
Okay, last question. What's Munger's advice on raising successful children?
His most famous quote on this topic is, "The best thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother."
So it starts with creating a stable and loving home environment.
Absolutely. And he also emphasizes the importance of setting a good example, modeling ethical behavior, hard work, and a love of learning.
But he's not about spoiling kids or shielding them from the consequences of their actions.
Right. It's about teaching them responsibility, resilience, and the importance of contributing to society.
So it's a balance of love and support with clear expectations and a focus on developing character.
It's about equipping them with the values and skills they need to thrive in the world and to become good human beings.
I love that. It's not just about success in a material sense, but about raising well-rounded individuals who contribute to something larger than themselves.
His insights on friendship are also really interesting. He said, "You should always tell the truth, but you shouldn't tell it to people who don't deserve to hear it."
So it's about being discerning in your relationships, choosing your friends wisely.
He's a strong believer in loyalty and integrity and emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uplift and inspire you.
Those friends who challenge you to be a better person?
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity.
Munger seems to value deep, meaningful connections with people who share his values and support his growth.
And that's a great reminder for all of us. It's easy to get caught up in expanding your social circle, but it's those core relationships that truly enrich our lives.
So it's about being intentional with your time and energy, investing in those relationships that matter most.
Exactly. And Munger's own life is a testament to the power of those deep, meaningful connections. He and Buffett have been close friends and business partners for decades.
It's amazing to see a partnership like that, built on mutual respect, shared values, and a genuine love of what they do.
And amidst all the complexities and challenges of the world, Munger maintains a sense of optimism.
He seems to have a deep belief in human potential and the possibility of progress.
He's famously said, "The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time."
It's a very pragmatic and empowering perspective, Focus on what you can control. Take it one day at a time. And believe in the possibility of positive change.
His optimism isn't naive or unrealistic. It's grounded in his understanding of history and a belief that human ingenuity can overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges.
He's constantly reminding us that we have the power to shape our own destinies, both individually and collectively.
It's a message of hope and resilience that we can all benefit from, especially in times of uncertainty and challenge.
Okay, this has been a fantastic exploration of Munger's wisdom across so many different areas. I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
There's so much depth to his thinking. I think we could spend hours unpacking all the nuances.
I'm eager to hear your final thoughts on what makes Munger so remarkable and what key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind. For me, it's Munger's ability to synthesize ideas from different fields and his emphasis on lifelong learning. He never stops questioning, never stops seeking new knowledge.
And he's not afraid to go against the grain, challenge conventional wisdom, and encourage us to think for ourselves.
He's a true iconoclast, but his insights are rooted in a deep understanding of human nature and the principles that drive success.
One of the most practical takeaways for me is his emphasis on mental models. These frameworks, drawn from various disciplines, are incredibly valuable for making sense of the world and improving our decision-making.
Can you give an example of how a mental model might apply to a real-world situation?
Absolutely. Let's take the concept of margin of safety, which comes from engineering. In bridge building, you design a bridge to withstand loads far greater than it's ever likely to experience. This built-in buffer protects the bridge from unexpected stresses or unforeseen circumstances. Munger applies this same principle to investing. He looks for companies that are trading at a significant discount to their intrinsic value, creating a margin of safety that protects his investments if things don't go as planned.
So it's about having a buffer, a cushion, to protect you from the inevitable uncertainties of life and business. That's brilliant.
And it's not just about applying these models to investing. They can be applied to any field or endeavor. Understanding the power of incentives, for example, can help you design better systems, motivate others more effectively, and even make better choices in your own life.
Or understanding the psychological biases that can distort our thinking can help us avoid common pitfalls in relationships, business negotiations, or even just everyday decision-making.
Munger's framework of mental models provides a powerful toolkit for navigating complexity and making smarter choices.
And it all ties back to his emphasis on rationality and objectivity. He's constantly urging us to think clearly, to see things as they are, and to resist letting our emotions cloud our judgment.
He's a big believer in having a system, a process for making decisions. He doesn't rely on gut feelings or intuition alone.
He's all about having a reasoned approach, considering all the angles, and weighing the evidence carefully.
And that's where temperament comes in. Munger often says that having the right temperament is even more important than having a high IQ.
He values qualities like patience, discipline, calmness under pressure, and the ability to learn from mistakes.
These are the traits that allow you to stay the course, make rational decisions, even when things are tough, and ultimately achieve your goals over the long term.
He's famously said he'd rather partner with someone with average intelligence and a great temperament than a genius with a volatile personality.
It speaks volumes about what he values in himself and others.
And while he acknowledges that luck plays a role in success, he emphasizes the importance of putting yourself in a position to benefit from that luck.
His famous line, "You have to be playing the game to win," highlights this perfectly. It's about being active, prepared, and persistent in pursuing your goals.
So it's not just about sitting back and hoping for the best. It's about creating opportunities for yourself and being ready to capitalize on them when they arise.
And that's what makes Munger's perspective so empowering. He believes that while we can't control everything, we can control our actions, our mindset, and our approach to life.
He's all about taking ownership of your destiny, even when acknowledging the role of external factors.
And even with his focus on rationality and objectivity, Munger doesn't shy away from the importance of ethical conduct and living a life of purpose.
He believes that integrity and sound principles are not just morally right, but essential for long-term success and fulfillment.
It's not about pursuing wealth or achievement at any cost. It's about doing things the right way, treating others with respect, and contributing to something larger than yourself.
His own life is a testament to this philosophy. He's achieved incredible success, but has always maintained a commitment to ethical conduct and giving back to society.
He's a true role model for how to live a life that's both successful and meaningful.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Charles T. Munger, what key takeaways do you hope our listener will walk away with?
For me, it's the power of multidisciplinary thinking, the importance of lifelong learning, and the value of cultivating a rational and objective mindset.
And let's not forget his emphasis on ethical conduct, his unconventional approach to philanthropy, and his belief that we can shape our own destinies through our choices and actions.
Munger's wisdom offers a wealth of insights for anyone seeking to improve their thinking, make better decisions, and live a more fulfilling life.
We encourage you to explore his writings and speeches for yourself. Immerse yourself in his unique way of thinking and discover how his insights can enrich your own life.
He's a true original, a brilliant mind, and a source of timeless wisdom.
And as Munger himself might say, go forth and be wise.